Okay. All right, well, I'll call the March 17th, 2021 ADAMHS Board for Tuscarawas and Carroll County to order. Please note the reminder to everybody, our virtual meeting reminders. It's being held remotely, being live streamed via our website with a 20-second delay. Viewers have the ability to send a comment through the live stream that we will address at the end of the meeting. Guests are asked to sign in via the live stream if they would like to be addressed in the minutes. Roll call vote will be taken for each motion to ensure all members remain remotely connected and we know that you are in the meeting. So with that, Danielle, can we have roll call, please?
Or Melanie Beam, Heather Campbell. I see ya. Jennifer Demuth.
Present.
Ryan Dunn.
Present.
Kelly Engelhardt.
Present.
Brian Kress.
Here.
Mark Murphy.
Here.
Jeff Knighty.
Here.
Mary Audie.
Here.
Polly Peyton Miller. Paul Rossi.
Here.
Julie Smith.
Here.
Maureen Stoneman. Okay, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Board staff introductions.
Natalie Boland, board staff.
Danielle Lurie, board staff.
Michelle Sayer, board staff. Veronica Spidell, board staff.
Michael Dotz, board staff.
And I
Brad?
think Brad's still on?
Here. Boards, yeah, I'm sorry. Not awake. I've had a lot of meetings today. Brad Hill, your board counsel. Sorry.
No problem.
Thank you all. Do we have any guests?
None on YouTube.
Okay, thank you, Mike. All right, in the packet that you received yesterday from Danielle, it has the agenda that is laid out for today. Need approval and a roll call vote for that agenda that was sent out.
This is Paul. I'll make that.
I'll second that. It's Julie.
So Paul, then Julie. Thank you. Roll call vote, please, Danielle.
Yeah, Heather Campbell,
Aye.
Jennifer Demuth,
Aye.
Ryan Dunn,
Aye.
Kelly Engelhardt,
Aye.
Brian Kress,
Aye.
Mark Murphy,
Aye.
Mary Audie,
Aye.
Paul Rossi,
Aye.
Julie Smith.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried.
Thank you. All right, you have the board minutes from our last meeting in February the 17th, pages 2 through 10 in your packet. Hopefully you've had time to look at those. If you have any corrections, please note them at this time. Hearing none, we'll take a motion in a second to approve the minutes from the February 17th meeting.
It's Brian.
So moved.
So moved.
Second, Heather Campbell.
Brian, then Heather. And Danielle, roll call vote, please, for the approval.
Heather
minutes.
Campbell,
Aye.
Jennifer Demuth,
Aye.
Ryan Dunn,
Aye.
Kelly Engelhardt,
Aye.
Brian Kress,
Aye.
Mark Murphy,
Aye.
Mary Audie,
Aye.
Paul Rossi,
Aye.
Julie Smith.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay. So the next item, it was in both packets, so hopefully you had a chance to look at it. And if you had any questions, you reached out to Natalie about that. But it's amended resolution from April 20th. So Natalie, you want to take over from here and and if you got any feedback on it, and so we can move forward on a vote on this.
Yes, thank you, Jeff. A year ago at this time, whenever COVID first hit, we scrambled quickly to shift how we were doing business. And one of the things that we did was allow me as the director to sign the bills while we were looking from a stay-at-home order. Well, the stay-at-home order has been lifted, but the way that our policy is written is that we are continuing to work remotely for the most part. until the county moves to orange. We're all in the office at periods of time, but for the intent of the motion, we are no longer in a stay-at-home order. But I wanted to talk to you about two things. One is about amending the order, saying that the director can sign either when the meeting is recessed or when we're meeting remotely. But the other more important thing is I took this to our directors collaborative, our Heartland collaborative, just to talk about how they were doing this. And there are no other boards in this 9 board collaborative that are having the board chair sign the invoices. One board's position was the budget's approved at the beginning of the year. As long as it stays within that budget, it's allowable. And the other is that both the budget committee and then the full board approves the list of bills. And so it's again a triple level of redundancy to have the board chair be required to go through and sign the bills again. So my offer to you, my discussion for you is I would like for us to make one of two decisions. If you want the board chair to continue to sign the list of bills from this point forward after COVID ends, then I would ask that we amend the resolution to state when we're meeting remotely or when meetings are canceled. If you feel like we have enough layers of checks and balances in prior, I would ask you to consider allowing me to sign once the bills have been approved by the full board. So I'm just opening that up for discussion, and then we'll decide which way we as a board want to go.
Natalie, I think if it is common to have, I mean, we have a budget committee, we have the full board committee, we approve monthly bills. I think as long as we're doing that, I'm going to vote for me. I'm seeing head bobs. I think we probably all agree to have you go ahead and continue signing them. It seems double redundant to have us approve them in budget, approve them in meeting, and then have Jeff sign them. So that might just cut out a layer that make things more streamlined.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm disappointed though. I haven't been able to sign any yet.
I wondered
Well, let me
No, it's
tell
okay.
you, Jeff, you're not really
but
missing
Jewel-
anything.
Yeah. So Julie and Brian, do you have any comments on that, having done this before?
I totally agree, Paul. I think you're spot on.
Yeah.
I agree
All right.
too.
I agree as well. Can we just make a motion?
Yeah. So let's think about if you have the paper in front of you, or if you could bring it up there, Mike. Let's see.
It'd be the second bullet point.
Yeah.
Well, you mean the second italicized one?
No, the second bullet point on the bottom, the budget committee approves a list of bills during the meeting, and the board approves during the full board meeting. The director signs the vouchers because the board has already approved the payment.
Yeah. So that's kind of the response that she got.
correct.
Yes.
So our amended motion then could read, a motion to authorize the director to sign the bill vouchers for payment in the county for board meetings that are held in person, remotely, or recessed.
Yes. What she said.
Yeah, so yeah, it would be
Approved.
Yeah, so it would be the executive director rather than like she has it written there, Director Bowen, just so for this and future going forward, it would be authorizing the executive director to sign all bill vouchers for payment at the county in place of the board chair for governing board meetings that are held remotely, in person, or recessed.
I don't think it needs to have the place of the chair
that-
in there though.
We're probably going to need to cover the time period from when the stay-at-home order was raised, like May of 20 through present, because you've signed in all those. I mean, if we just did the resolution as stated, it would take effect today. So
This will be retroactive.
Yes. Make it retroactive back to May, right?
correct.
I think so too.
The retro to May 2020.
But also, I don't think in place of the board chair needs to be in that resolution.
Agreed.
Right.
Just make it like that, the
Okay.
third bullet point.
So Danielle, do you have that written that you could read back the motion that's been made?
Sure. No.
So
Motion to authorize Director Bowen to sign bill vouchers for payment at the county in person when governing board meetings are held in person, remotely, or recessed, retroactive to May 2020.
I think we need to take out Bolin because we need this to be, I mean, granted, we hope Natalie will be with us for the long haul here, but we don't want to have to revise it if something should happen. It should
Right.
just say executive director.
Director.
Yes.
Executive director or acting, just executive. What if Natalie's stricken and is gone for 6 months on injury leave or something, God forbid?
Good Lord, this is turning into. Kidding.
So I
Well,
guess
it's a
the
good
question
point.
revolves back to where we're at right now is it's in policy. Is that correct? That the executive director does not sign, but the board chair does, right? We have a policy that states that.
We'll need to amend that policy as well, Jeff. You're right.
Okay, so really this resolution can have your name because it's just covering us in this interim period of May to current or until we get the policy through Tri-P.
Good
Okay.
point.
Can I
So
ask,
the policy can direct what we're talking about, and I agree, those are great concerns. You know, what if Natalie's having surgery? What if, you know, who would be our next in line? And we'll just send that to the Tri-P to take care of that. So I think the resolution we need to do today is just to cover our bases from May to current and until that policy changes. So, so I think if we, with that in mind, you know, the Tri-P can really dig into the issues of moving forward, but in the interim, it would be a motion to authorize Director Bolin to sign all bill vouchers for payment at the county in the absence of the board chair for governing board meetings that are held remotely, in person, or recessed. Retroactive to May 2020. That'll cover us for now. And then the policy, if we could get that, Danielle, on a soon to be Tri-P or just a policy for that meeting to really, you know, that way we can just say it's the executive director, and then what is the level of who can do it afterwards. You know, at some point, maybe is Michelle able to be doing that, or is the board chair, is the vice chair, so that we're covered. But I think if I'm not mistaken, Natalie, this would just be for that interim period since last May.
I think those are very good points. We're amending a motion. This is a finite period of time, which is going to direct us back to a policy change.
Okay.
let me ask you, are we gonna put a sunset provision on this that says that it will expire when all COVID restrictions are lifted? See, sometimes when you put that in, we forget to change it, and that may not be a good idea going forward. Not that I certainly trust Natalie, but
yeah.
I would just suggest that they have an end date on it, so you don't end up with a policy.
How about if we say July 1?
Well, I don't think that's going to do it.
Well, and I feel, I guess for discussion, our next Tri-P meeting is in April, right, Danielle? So in April, we should have our policy updated that would make this really irrelevant at that point, because I would be able to sign from that point forward.
Okay, sounds good.
Makes sense?
Okay. So at the very latest, we'd say May 1 then. Okay. Any questions or comments? Again, this is a resolution to get us in the short term here to cover since last May and to make sure it's official. What we've been doing is in the record book. And then we will address permanent changes with a policy at Tri-P. I'd recommend anybody that has kind of seen these languages, when that policy comes out to everybody, even though the Tri-P will look at that, make sure you get those comments to the Tri-P committee before the Tri-P meeting, or before the board meeting or whatever, so that we can address those concerns, which are all very good ideas, All right, so the motion's there. Danielle, you have it all cleared up now as mud to clear it and read
I'm
it?
still unclear why we are putting a date on it.
Yeah.
An end date.
Yeah, I don't think we need that.
If we're talking about changing policy, we should just leave this without an end date and have the policy when Tri-P meets to fine tune it.
Yeah, Brad
I-
just doesn't want us to forget it and not change the resolution, which has Natalie's name in it, and things like that. So I
Yeah,
think,
I understand. I'm just
I mean-
saying, I feel like there's been times when if we put in May, if we bring it to committee, we change it, then it comes to the board and there's another change that needs reviewed or,
Can we just add to the end that says until superseded by
policy change.
policy change?
so
Let me just say this. Almost every, and I don't want you to think for a minute I'm impinging on Natalie's character, but, we handle a lot of money. And if you do not remember, we see in the paper every day somebody that has misused funds for some organization or other. Now, it's more difficult to do that, obviously, with the county auditor and treasurer holding our funds. But I don't, you don't want to be in a situation where there's some finding, whether it's Natalie or somebody else long ago that did this. So I don't think you should do that long term. I think this should be a temporary situation, and I think the people that are elected to the board chair or the audit committee needs to countersign those vouchers. I just, every time I pick up the paper, there's somebody has taken funds. It was most recently, it was the 4-H group, long time lady there, have been there 30 years and stole $50,000. So it's, I know it's a little inconvenient, but it protects Natalie and it protects the board.
okay, thank you, Brad. All right, I would like to,
Can I read what I think the motion is at this point?
well, again, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, here's what I have. I think this captures where everyone is in, if we would take into consideration what Brad just added. The motion would authorize Director Bullen to sign bills for payment at the county in lieu of the board chair when meeting remotely or when meeting is recessed, retroactive to May 2020 through July 1st through June 30th. The end of this fiscal year would probably be a nice date. I don't know.
Yeah, and it would be for meeting remotely, in person, or recessed.
Okay, I wasn't sure if we were still doing the in-person since we're really just talking about this time of.
Yeah, in case we have one before this is approved. So we'll do those three.
You want the in-person in there?
Yeah, and
Okay.
And we have,
until the policy is revised and no later than June 30th, 2021.
and we have time as a board to consider if we want our policy to change. This gets us corrected for where we were the past couple months, gives me some time to sign through the end of the fiscal year. And if the board decides not to have me sign the vouchers and they continue to want the board chair to do it, I think these next couple weeks will give us some time as a board to think that through. So we don't have to make that decision today. This just remedies me signing with us being out of the stay-at-home order.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Okay. So again, we have a motion on the floor to authorize Director Boland to sign bill vouchers for payment at the county in place of the board chair for governing board meetings that are held remotely, in person, or recessed until our policy has been revised. That would cover things outside of the shelter in place, but no later than June 30th. Any questions about the motion? If not, we'd take a second.
I'm gonna just include that's retroactive to May of 2020.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, retro to May 2020.
And with that addition, I'll second. Mr. Bryan.
Who was the first? I'm sorry. Jeff? No.
No, I can't do it. No,
I
I just said a
didn't
motion on the floor.
This Paul, I'll first.
Paul
Thank
brought
you.
it all up initially, and we revised it. Brian has
Thank you.
seconded it. Any discussion on the resolution to go back to May 20th, May 2020, to authorize Executive Director Natalie Boland to sign those until we have a policy in effect no later than June 30th of 2021. Any questions? Thank you all for your input. It's all very valuable, especially Brad, our legal counsel. We appreciate that very much. Roll call vote, Danielle.
Heather Campbell,
Aye.
Jennifer Demuth,
Aye.
Ryan Dunn,
Aye.
Kelly Engelhardt,
Aye.
Brian Kress,
Aye.
Mark Murphy,
Aye.
Marion Audi,
Aye.
Paul Rossi,
Aye.
Julie Smith.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay. All right, so that's end of the initial setup or section of agenda items. Next would be the budget committee that met before this meeting. Julie?
Okay, thanks, Jeff. We have 3 items on the agenda for today. The budget committee met prior to the full board meeting, and we are coming to the board with a recommendation to approve a then and now certification request for bills to Generations Behavioral Health, both in December and in January, as presented on page 12 of the board packet. Are there any questions from the full board about these bills? What happened, Michelle explained, is there was federal funding for this particular item to cover hospitalizations when Heartland was not able to accept some patients. And we approved, we had approval for this from last month, but it needed to be taken out of a different line item. So therefore we have to do a then and now statement. Did I explain that well enough, Michelle?
You sure did.
Any questions? If not, we would need to take a roll call vote to approve the recommendation from the budget committee.
Okay, Heather Campbell,
Aye.
Jennifer Demuth,
Aye.
Ryan Dunn,
Aye.
Kelly Engelhardt,
Aye.
Brian Kress,
Aye.
Mark Murphy,
Aye.
Marion Audi,
Aye.
Paul Rossi,
Aye.
Julie Smith.
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right, the next item before us is the Expenditures for March, and the list of bills are found in your board packet on pages 13 and 14. The budget committee reviewed these. Michelle pointed out to us that midway down page 13, there was an annual liability insurance bill to Kennedy Insurance Agency, and that occurs just one time a year in the amount of $4,202. We did talk about also line item number 727 at the top of page 14. That is for community mental health care's financial audit. And this amount of $3,115 does exceed what we had budgeted for this item. We are recommending that we pay this item as presented, but address some potential changes to that with the contract with CMH in the future in order to maybe, I guess, put a limitation on how much the board would be able to pay or ask for an estimate. You don't have to determine that today, but I just wanted to let you know that we would like to take a look at how we're doing this when we do our contracts for the next fiscal year. Are there other questions for Michelle? If there are none, we're recommending approving the list of bills for March in the amount of $334,285.26. And we would need to vote on that. Okay, I think we can proceed with the vote.
Okay, Heather Campbell,
Aye.
Jennifer Demuth,
Aye.
Brian Dunn,
Aye.
yeah, Kelly Engelhardt,
Aye.
Brian Kress,
Aye.
Mark Murphy,
Aye.
Mary Audi,
Abstain.
Paul Rossi,
Aye.
Julie Smith.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, the last item to present from Budget Committee is the financial statements through February of 2021. On pages 15 through 18 in your packet, you'll find the balance sheet and the statement of revenue and expense. We reviewed these at our Budget Committee and did not find any particular concerns with where we're at financially. I think Michelle shared with us that we, really are on target for where we should be at this point in the year. Are there any other comments you would make, Michelle?
I know last month it probably looked like we weren't necessarily on target, but this month we included the amendments that we made to the contracts last year on the financials. So that kind of decreased the percentages a little bit too. So to get them back in line where they should be.
Okay. Does anyone have specific questions for Michelle? If not, the Budget Committee is recommending that we approve the statements as presented on pages 15 through 18, and we need a roll call vote for that.
Okay, Heather Campbell,
Aye.
Jennifer Demuth,
Aye.
Ryan Dunn,
Aye.
Kelly Engelhardt,
Aye.
Brian Kress,
Aye.
Mark Murphy,
Aye.
Mary Audi,
Aye.
Paul Rossi,
Aye.
Julie Smith.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried.
All right, that concludes the Budget Committee information. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Budget Committee. Appreciate your extra time today looking at those before the full board meeting. Next on the agenda is item number 3, Director's Report. Natalie has some updates for us.
I do. We have been continuing to chip away at the men's residential treatment project. Again, this is still very much a hope. We're doing our best to make this happen, but it's definitely not a definite project yet. Where we are right now is that Mike and I met with Steve Tamakis 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago, about the lot behind his building, which is vacant. It is a city lot and a half. Steve spent some time talking with us about the potential project and the location. He gave us some varying amounts that varied from, he was offered $25,000 for the lot. It was valued at $15,000, $14,000, but ultimately he said he was looking at potentially donating it as well. He was getting in contact with donating it to us. He was getting in contact with his financial consultant just to talk about how that may impact him. We're government. It's not a nonprofit donation. So I called him. I'm waiting to hear back from him to see if there's been any resolution about that. Mike has been hitting it out of the park with all of the intricacies related to moving forward with a capital project. And I'm going to let him speak to the conversation he had with Doug Peterman, because we would need sewer, water, and electric access to this lot. Mike, do you want to touch base about that?
Yeah, I think the biggest hurdle to anybody using that lot is the fact there are no city utilities directly connected to any of the property lines on that. So we would have to look at getting utilities added from either 2nd Street, which is in front of Metropolitan Housing, Front Street in front of Steve's office, or Allen Lane, which is directly behind it. So I spoke with some folks at City of New Philadelphia, and I also spoke with Doug Peterman at Steve's recommendation, because they know each other, and he had already spoken with him before. There is the opportunity to hire an excavation company to trench and dig in sewer and water lines back to that property. Gas is already available, electric is already available, but the sewer and water were kind of a big deal. So we have some preliminary quotes and some ideas of what that's going to run. Even if we double or triple that amount, if we run into some significant issues, it would still be a fantastic opportunity if we can get this property and move forward with it. The location is great. The neighbor issues, which always are a concern with properties like this, with facilities like this, would not be a concern. So our next step really is to have an in-depth discussion with the folks at the City of New Philly about their thoughts on this and what we would be looking at nuts and bolts wise, so we can really formulate whether or not we can move forward with this.
And to that end, Mike and I have a phone call scheduled with the City Services Director, Ron McAber. Is that how you say it, Marianne?
McAbeer.
That's something I want to make sure I'm saying correctly when we talk. On tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. to get some questions answered and continue to move this process forward. We're moving, we're trying, and what I understand from one of the other board directors is that the bidding process that we need to go through to bid these jobs has to be followed with a very fine attention to detail, because doing the bidding process incorrectly can cost us our matching funding. So there's a lot for us to dive into. Like I said, Mike's been doing a fantastic job of getting information and getting numbers. I could go on and on, but I guess I want to stop for a second and see what your feedback is.
Natalie, I apologize. I missed the discussion you had about this at the last board meeting. Would the board be the owner of the property and the building, and then we would like lease or contract with Ohio Guidestone to provide the services? Is that the way this normally works?
Correct. That's absolutely how this will work.
Okay, thank you.
And I just want to add that we've been in constant contact with the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services as well. stepping us through this and making sure that we're not missing anything and that we understand what this process is going to look like, both development wise, financially, who's responsible for what. So we're making sure that we're getting all those bridges covered as well.
I do have a question. Everything seems to center around New Philadelphia. When I was a police chief in Port Washington, there was a big disconnect once you started towards the southern end of the county of not having services. With that said, have we looked at any properties towards the southern end of the county, revitalization in New Comerstown or Yerkesville or Denison, where the property values might be a lot cheaper and the property build might be not as cumbersome because they don't have all the huge restrictions like New Philadelphia has?
So I'll say two things to that. And then Mike, if you have anything else to add, please feel free. The state really wants facilities like this to be close to as many resources as possible. Church resources, transportation, employment resources, treatment resources. And they, even if it was in the New Philly area, but out in the country a little further, that would be less favorable to them because they really want people to be centrally located and be able to walk to services and resources, et cetera. So that's the Philly question. The other thing that you brought up is a very good point. And Jen Demuth and I have been talking about this, and as part of the addiction task force, this is a different direction, but it's just an answer to your question. We are developing 3 subcommittees as part of the addiction task force for our hardest hit cities. One is our New Philly subcommittee, and that's going to be co-chaired by Carrie Metzger and Mayor Day. There's going to be a Twin Cities committee, and that's being chaired by Diana Smith from Guidestone. And then Danielle and I are at least going to begin to tackle New Cumberstown together. I don't know if they're going to want us to chair that committee or not. We certainly will support whoever wants to chair it. And Jeff kind of provided me some guidance about how and where to go with that as well. So absolutely, it is an underserved area, and we're seeing the effects of it with our overdose numbers, and we are targeting that at this point. Lots to do.
Thank you.
And I would reiterate certainly that location thing, and that's not something unique to OMOS. We ran into the same issue when we were looking at developing a HUD project. Literally right outside of New Philly city limits was a whole different category than within the city limits. And one of the reasons for that we want to try to avoid is having your own well and or septic. If you're not within, have the ability to get city utilities, they will look at that differently. And Guidestone had that issue with one of their facilities just outside of town as well. So unfortunately, that is one of the things that they look at points wise and decide if it's going to be feasible.
Yeah, I'll just add, as a family member of a consumer, not in this county, but in other parts of Ohio, the location is so critically important, as Natalie said, to being local to resources, because otherwise the person who's receiving services cannot even access getting to job and family services, or other places that they may need to travel to get the other services they need. In a rural area, it's very hard.
This is a residential facility that we're talking about, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other questions for Natalie on Medden's residential? Or Mike?
This is Kelly. I just have a suggestion. You had mentioned having that meeting with the service director for New Philly tomorrow. Being that the ADAMHS board and the staff there are not used to the bidding process, as you mentioned, you might want to ask if they would be willing to do that kind of as a subcontract for the agency. They have a whole engineering department in the cities that's what they do, is bid out projects, and they know all the laws and the rules. So it might be a partnership that they may be willing to help you with.
Great suggestion, Kelly. Thank you. We're glad you're back.
Thanks. I missed you all.
All right, anything else? Thank you for that feedback. Great, use our resources and offer comments and suggestions. All right, Hope Line update, Natalie.
I'm waiting for numbers from Rachel, who is the one that manages the Hope Line. But what I can tell you is she and I spoke earlier about how it's going. She has helped a handful of individuals, She's getting me numbers from phone call to treatment. She says a lot of the calls have been more informational calls, which we expected, and that's fine. They can always call back and continue that process to getting treatment. So we have billboards in Tusk County and Carroll County. We have had an article in the Times Reporter and the Bargain Hunter. I had reached out to the Free Press, but I had never, they haven't responded. So if anyone has a connection at the Free Press, let me know. Veronica has done an excellent job of making sure it's on social media, and we're going to continue to push that weekly so it stays in front of people. And Haley and Rachel from Ohio Guidestone are starting to do a radio tour of the Hope Line. So it's getting momentum. And as soon as I get some numbers from Rachel, I will send that to you in an email. Does everyone
have a contact at the Free Press? I'll send your way.
Thank you. Does everyone remember what the Hope Line is or know what the Hope Line is? Let me know if not.
All right, and then fiscal year 2022.
The agency RFPs will go out by the end of this week. Our budget at the state continues to look good. We've gotten small increases in a handful of line items, minimal decreases, if at all. This governor still continues to prioritize behavioral health and addiction needs of our state residents. So we're pretty blessed, and we're starting to look at our next 22 budget internally.
Great. When will the agencies have to have those back?
I believe I have April 30th, which I think is the last Friday in April. And then Mental Health and Addiction Services Committee begins their work.
All right. Anything else for Natalie? If not, we'll move on to COVID-19 impact and updates.
Just real quick, if you don't mind. So the Free Press is actually now owned by the Bargain Hunter. They do the same. It's the same thing. So when you contact them, it's probably the same rep I'm going to send you. So you just have to specify that you want to run it in Southern Tusk, Northern Tusk. They have, but they actually are the printers and the copywriters for the Carrollton paper now. I just checked with my rep to be sure I was right, but that's true. That is how it works. So
did anyone see the article in the Bargain Hunter? I got more feedback about that.
I did see that one. It was nicely done.
Did anyone see how they changed my name? I'm Nancy.
Nancy
Boland.
Nancy Boland. Trying to be incognito.
Nancy Boland, Jeff. That's how I get by with stuff. Okay, anyway, sorry.
All right. Thank you for that, Heather. COVID-19 impact. The board staff have anything changes in the last month? Any significance of what the agencies are doing now that the world is starting to peek out the window and be a little bit more visible?
I haven't heard. They've been basing their transportation on the color of the county. And so, until we move to orange, I truly don't see the case management transportation truly opening up much more. I mean, they're still doing some on emergency basis, but I just think that will open up much broader once the color changes for the county. But they continue to offer services hybridly, in person, telehealth. So, I mean, we are still taking appointments and meeting with clients, and things seem to be going well.
Jen, are you seeing that the public health advisory system is really lagged in regards to the data? I know in Carroll, our case rate is significantly decreased. Even in a month, and they're still indicating that we're red in Carroll County. So I feel like it's ODH's dashboard is a little behind where we really are. And that's a little bit difficult because we know providers are making decisions based on that dashboard.
Yeah, actually, back in November, the Ohio Public Health Advisory System changed how they go from red to orange to basically, even if you met less than 3 indicators, if you still had a high incidence rate, according to the CDC, they would keep you at red until you went below the high incident case rate threshold. I will say for Tuscarawas County, our numbers are getting close. We've seen a steady decrease. And it, if things, I don't want to jinx anything, but, if the cases continue to decrease the way we've seen in the last couple of weeks, it is possible that we could go below that high threshold case number in the next week or two and move to orange. It's possible, but again, I don't want to jinx anything, but we are seeing things trending downward, and we're happy to see that.
Great. Any other updates on COVID-19 for any agencies? Not, we'll move on to unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business anybody is aware of that's not been on the agenda today?
I do have one last thing I want to discuss, Jeff. Mike, can you pull the agenda back up? And then I might have you take it back down again. Okay, I'll wait till the end of new business. I apologize. Go ahead.
Okay. So new business, Tri-P meeting, April 14th at noon. If you're on that committee and you haven't seen that already, please get that on your calendar. Same with PR on the 15th at noon. And then our April board meeting is currently set for April 21st. 1 p.m. with the budget committee meeting before that, unless there's any need to change that. If anyone has any, agenda items, community issues, any service level, anything related to the ADAMHS board, please let board staff know so we can get that on the agenda or be addressed before the agenda. Natalie, what do you have?
Mike, can you take us back to full screen? So I pulled Vicki Iono from she's the New Philadelphia Health Commissioner, that I would bring this to the board. I wanted to get your feedback. As an aside, a couple months ago, I was approached by the Tuscarawas County Community Foundation to see if I would be interested in being a board member. That's a philanthropic organization. They hand out grants and scholarships to Tuscarawas County residents. I didn't see any conflict with ADAMHS and what we do. I accepted that position and had my first meeting in January. Vicki asked if I would be interested in being on the New Philadelphia Health Department board. It is a policy and procedure board, not a fiscal board. They have another committee that manages their finances and approves their finances. So it wouldn't be a conflict from that point of view. I don't know. I can go either way. I'm kind of on the fence about it. And so I told Vicki that I would like to bring this to the board and get your feedback before I would make a decision one way or the other about membership on that board.
Natalie, the only thing I would say about that is that if you get to a situation where the Philly Health Board is looking for any kind of funding, even though you don't directly have any part in that, I think that might be a problem. So I would know if, I know we're not doing anything currently with the New Philadelphia Health Department, but I might want to take a look at that and see what their bylaws are before you make a decision on that.
Well, and we had done a lot more with the health department whenever our jail was more full. They were providing much more Vivitrol. They're still doing a little bit that we fund at the New Philly Health Department, but not nearly the amount that it had been. So there is that financial relationship. And again, Vicky's response to that was they have a separate board that manages their finances. And so she did not feel like it was a conflict because the Adams board gives money for them to provide the Vivitrol shot. I don't want you to think I'm selling you on this board. I'm just giving you the facts.
Is it because it's a city health department that the finances are actually run through the finance committee that's part of the city government?
I can't answer that. She did say that it was the city council that manages the finances, now that you're saying that. Thanks, Kelly.
Yeah. So I do agree that, I spent 5 years in city government when I was a service director for the city of Ravenna. They did have a board of health at that time and before they consolidated. So the board of health is really, like you said, very much about policy, procedure, providing direction. There really is not in city health departments of financial. They don't approve any expenditures or even the budget, I don't think, because that's all done through allocations that come through city council.
Well, Kelly, that wouldn't be the concern I would have. The problem's going to be if the health department makes a request to the Adams board for funding, that is going to be an immediate problem for Natalie because she was on a policy meeting. And honestly, guys, that's exactly why I have never at my court applied for a drug court, because I really run a drug court. I just don't get any money for it. But and that's the reason I've stayed away from that, because I'm your law director for the Adams board. So I would want to see what their rules are, because even though she may not have anything to do with it, when it shows up at our door, it creates a conflict even if she doesn't vote on it, so, or doesn't take any action on it.
Well, and I think that's why Natalie asked. I think it's wise to do the checks and balances and, look at those bylaws, have Brad do that and make a good informed decision at that point.
I know Vicky well, Natalie, so if you just ask her if they can send down whatever the bylaws are to that committee to me, email them, and I'll take a look and give you an answer. I think you do. I don't want you to think, I think you do a wonderful job with that.
And I'm really okay with telling her thank you, but I don't think that I'm a good fit. And she knows that I was a little hesitant. So I can contact Vicky and have her send Brad the bylaws, or I can say, we had a little bit of a concern and I just don't think that I'm the best fit for the position. And
I think, even though there's not fiscal, I think, to Brad's point, what if some new program comes in place in 6 months with all this funding coming through and changes in health, and they say, hey, it has to go through your Adams board, but you're not getting the funding, but you're making the policy and the decisions on how that
is implemented.
How it's implemented and how, so you're making decisions on how the money's going to be spent, not how they're getting money. But so I think it's a pretty strong conflict, in my opinion. But.
And the other way, it actually may go against the health department, because if Jeff's correct and that funding is brought to you, you may feel like I can't make a decision, and they may lose the funding because of you being on their board, not get it. So, I kind of agree with Jeff. I just, they're doing so many things with people with drug addictions. I think we probably should stay away. So.
Well, and I will tell you, I'm sure all of you, am not looking for things to do. So I'm okay with politely declining.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good though. They see you as a leader in the community, and it's certainly great to be, asked to be on this board. So thank you for doing what you're doing and being recognized and noticed. And that's why they contact you. So, but yeah, it's just probably best decision not on that one. Just my thoughts. So, but that other one is great. I mean, that's you certainly know a certain avenue of needs that are out there in the community for that other board. So that'd be great to be a part of that one.
Thank you. That's
Any
all.
other new business? Nothing. All right, again, if you see anything, know anything, bring it to the board's attention so we can get it on an agenda. If not, we will see everyone at a committee meeting or at the board meeting on April 21st. And I have a motion for adjournment.
So moved, Heather Campbell.
Heather.
Mike, are there
Second,
any
Ryan
questions?
Dunn.
Mike, were there any questions from our live?
Oh, my sorry. Yep.
No, I was the only one watching on there.
Sorry, Jeff.
Okay.
Everybody stay
My
safe.
apologies. I closed my notebook on all my notes. So yeah, so Heather adjourned us and we are adjourned.